Yep.
All right. So Maty Ryan here. How has your COVID life been treating you? Any new hobbies that you've taken up since it's happened?
Yeah, obviously a little bit different as it has been for everyone. Just the lockdowns are obviously starting to ease now, so able to get into a
Yeah.
few other things. But yeah, probably the biggest thing was obviously training had stopped in terms of going into the team's facilities and training with the team because obviously the league got shut down. But
Yeah.
just was doing some training in and around the house, these home workout type things, and
Yeah, I
the
think I've
clubs.
seen that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the club sent like us a watt bike, a kettlebell, some bands, skipping rope, TRX, all these types of stuff. And
Yep.
in Australia, I had those types of things, access to those things as well. So we're just trying to
So
keep up a
trying to keep.
conditioning level.
Yeah, and so no new hobbies there. Any golfing? Any reading books or?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I've sort of read a book or two. I'm not a big reader, but I did pick up one or two, and I have been since coming back.
Yeah.
Probably just I got out. I mean, when I was back in Australia as well, we were still able to play golf and that. So I got out and
Yeah.
probably played a few more rounds of golf and couple of games of tennis I've had as well. So
That's right. You used to play tennis back in the day, is that right?
yeah, as well. I wouldn't say I've really done it. Oh, I went for a few bike rides as well with a couple of my teammates. They got a couple of bikes. So we did a
Oh,
couple of like
beautiful.
30, 40-kilometer rides and stuff, which
Jeez.
I've never really done before. So that was nice to get out.
So you're definitely keeping fit by the sounds of it.
Yeah,
uh,
and there's no better feeling at the end of the day being fit and healthy, and I try to live by that saying, really.
yeah, definitely. So well, my next question was going to be is obviously you worked on your physical side during this period. Have you been able to work on any other sides of your game? You know, whether it's mental or like kind of cognitive skills or things like that. Anything else that's maybe been able to work on and practice?
Yeah, probably the mindset. It's always a sort of evolving aspect of the game. The
Hundred
more
percent.
the mindset of players and the positive approach and the importance or how beneficial it can be if you adopt that. And one of the books I actually read was a book sort of focusing more specifically on footballers and being able to be in a state of mind that I guess enables you at your highest more. The basis of it is obviously like positive thinking and envisaging yourself doing well in moments. That's sort of just an outline of it, but the book goes into more depth.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, it's
The
it's
book,
it's
the
an
benefit.
interesting aspect, the mental side of
Yeah,
it, right?
well, I mean, I wasn't really aware of the benefits or conscious of I guess the effect, the mental approach, because it never really was brought up to me as
Never used
something
to
that you
think
can
about it.
sort of
Yeah.
work on as a tool and all that. And over the last couple of years, has been something I sort of realized the impact that it can have. And I've had people around me that have some tools in order to help. And
And the
um,
and the clubs
it's something that
facilitate the players with psychologists as well, which
yeah,
would be
but
which I'd imagine.
I mean that hasn't really been a new thing. That's been around for quite some time. But I guess the people that are enforcing it these days are becoming even more knowledgeable at ways in order to do it. And it's like
Mm,
anyone working in any industry. If someone has a real knack of being able to do something, that's what sets them apart from the rest. And I've come across a few other people that have been, I guess, more individually focused on on players, because at the end of the day, as people, we're all different. We don't all function the same. And I think in the past, it's been, in my experiences anyway, it's been a little bit more team focused
hmm
collectively rather than honing into the individuals as much. But I think
Yeah,
a good balance of both is what is needed at the end of the day. And if you've got someone that can really find ways in order to do that, then I really feel it can be quite beneficial and can really help a player fulfill their full potential.
100%. Every little bit counts, right?
Yeah.
Especially
But
playing at
the
the
name of
top
that,
level.
yeah, exactly. The name of that book is train your brain, raise your game. I'm pretty sure the name of it is. So
Train your
if
brain,
there's
raise your game. I'll have to get onto it.
look, yeah.
Anyway, so in terms of where you're living, Brighton, do you prefer Sydney or Brighton? Might be an easy answer. Who knows?
Yeah, Sydney for me, mate.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's always home.
Nothing beats it, right?
Those who mean the most to me are obviously there in Sydney as well, and the lifestyle, the climate, the beaches, all that. I'm yet to find, I guess, a place where I'd want to live more than Sydney at the moment. In
Yeah, I
saying
could
that, there are
imagine.
places throughout the world. It's just, I think, a big drawing card is the fact that those who mean the most to me, friends and family, are obviously back there in Sydney as well at the moment.
Yeah. Any places that you visited and thought, well, I'd love to live here, or any countries?
Countries wise, I mean, like one of the great things about being a footballer is, you get to see a lot of the world. Or a
Yeah,
footballer
exactly. Yeah.
in Europe as well. Um, the amount of travel you do, you get to see a lot of things, and experience many different cultures, and even live in different countries, and get out of your comfort zone. And that's when you obviously grow and learn a lot about yourself. And I've had the privilege of being in those circumstances or having those experiences, and
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've been to a few countries now.
it's definitely been helped me turn me into the person that I am today, and learn a new language along the way as well. But yeah, I mean, it's always, people always ask the question, where would you like to live in the world? But I mean, there's certain things about certain places you go to that some places have, which set them apart from other places. But then these other places have things that set them apart from. It's always a tough question, but
Yeah, it's it.
I always fall back to Sydney, Australia is where I sort of want to end up,
Yeah, of course.
circumstantially. So, but
Legend.
yeah,
Yeah, great answer.
I've been to Bali, I've been to America,
Yeah.
Croatia,
Wow.
France, Spain. All these places would be great places to live also. But yeah, Australia's also great.
Yeah, it's definitely up there, right? Um, anyway, back to football side of things. Who's the best player you've kind of played against or with, and why are they the best player?
I come up against Leo Messi. Found out
Standard.
the hard way just how good he was.
Yeah.
It was a big, obviously, learning experience that night, and just to have that opportunity to come up against someone like that is something that I've discovered that I'm really thankful and grateful for, and proud of myself for, because I never thought growing up as a kid that I'd get those sorts of opportunities, and
Yeah, 100%.
the longer I've been in the game and my competitive edge, the harder the challenge or the tougher the adversity you got to face, the better the triumph is. So coming up against the
Of
best,
course.
and in moments where we've been able to get victories over certain teams or players, or even individually when I've been able to save a shot against a certain player or something like that.
Yeah,
There's no better feeling for me in the industry that I'm in, and it's a memory that obviously lasts quite a long time when I'm able to do that. So having faced Messi in that moment was a great learning curve, and I'm looking forward to the next time can come up against him and show what I've learnt from that first time, and
yeah,
hopefully be able to do better.
yeah. That's crazy. I mean, it's definitely not a ideal situation for a goalkeeper to be in, to say the
Nah,
least.
but I mean, I think
Anyway,
you got to look
yeah,
forward to that. I think like I can understand people, and I was one of them also. To feel a bit daunted in that situation. When I went to my first World Cup, I was in a similar mindset. Coming up against these superstars of the game.
yeah. We just
We've hyped them up to be and all these types of things. But then I think the more experience you get at the pinnacle of the game, the
yeah,
more you realise it's just going out there and you're coming up against other opposition. That competitive side to you just wants to win, no matter who you're coming up against. Then
yeah. Of course.
you got to embrace the challenge that's in front of you and where you've gotten to in your career, coming up against the likes of these players. And like I said, that's the best way that I've found for me to create lifelong memories through being successful is when you're able to triumph over these players and these teams. And, as some may see it as daunting, I just, I thrive on the challenge and, the positive mindset side of it, I guess, thinking that, if you're able to triumph in that moment, then what a moment that's going to be in your lifetime.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's really good to hear. I was going to ask you as well, who's the most athletic player you've played against or played with? Sorry, as well, because obviously that's another big aspect of the game. So I'm just curious who's kind of like the most athletic, the most strongest player in the team, or Socceroos or Brighton.
Most athletic that I've come up against.
It can be a teammate. It can be someone.
I'm just trying to think now at the moment. Players that I've played with. One that comes to mind is Thomas Meunier.
Okay.
He's the right back. He plays at PSG. I played with him at Club Bruges. He was just up and down that right wing a lot. He's very athletic, very strong.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting.
Just, had a big motor on him. Just all around, I just felt like he was a bit like comparison to an AFL player, just built to
run.
motor, like non-stop and just cut and ripped and all that. And probably another one at the moment that not a lot of people know is the new right back that we signed in our team from Chelsea, a young kid called Tariq Lamptey. He's in our team.
Okay.
You heard it here first. I'm tipping him for a big career. He
really?
made his debut for Arsenal and all that, and we signed him in January, and he's come in and he's looked really good in training. And I'm thinking he may get an opportunity soon. I'm guessing from what he's been shown in training, and he's very athletic. I think he's destined for a big future.
Well, really? Well, I guess we'll see. See how that. Guess we'll see how that one pans out. I guess.
Yeah.
Who's got the best banter at Brighton and Socceroos? Or either one. Anyone come to mind? Surely there's got to be someone.
The English humour is a little bit different, so it's always funny to get along with. Is something different. So I'll say like Aaron Moy, because obviously me and him growing up close to each other, Western Sydney, we get each other and the humour level and all those types of things. So I'll say with him.
Aaron Moy. Never would have thought, actually.
He's pretty quiet, but I only seem to have gotten him out of the show, So he's quite vocal, and being around him here and all that, it's a good laugh. But also Ryan McGowan, that used to be in the Socceroos as well. Now he loves a good laugh in that. So
interesting. It's always interesting learning who's got the best banter.
I don't know if
who's the comedians.
I don't know if it's the best, but they try hard. They try the hardest.
Yeah, they put the effort in. Okay, so match day. How do you prepare for it? Day before a game, day of.
Yeah, the day before a game.
Do you have any superstitions as well that might kind of go with that as well?
No, I wouldn't say so far as a superstition, but I just have a process, a routine that I like to get into.
Yeah.
That sort of starts with the day before a game with the training session we do at our club. I mean, our goalkeeper coach, it's always quite similar. There's a few altercations in what we do, but the sort of the structure of it is around the same. That they match day -1, as we call it, session.
Yeah.
And then I sort of come home and relax, and I do a bit of yoga, just to feel nice and limber for the next day after the heavy session, and then do a little bit of study on the clips that we get about the opposition that we're coming up against, just to help paint a picture of what I might face tomorrow, so that I'm going to go in prepared. And then that's generally just followed by going to bed after that around 11 o'clock or something. Normally up around 7:30 the next day, having some breakfast, and I go for a light run out here on the seafront. Some days it's nicer than other days.
Yeah. Maybe not during winter.
Yeah. But no, I just like to go for a little run and loosen, limber up a little bit, come back and have a foam roll and a bit of a stretch. And then I head to the stadium and we have our pre-match meal and have a last little look at the video clips and all that of who we're coming up against, just so I've got it fresh there in the mind. And then basically head over to the change room and we have a team meeting and get ready for the warm-up and all those types of things.
Well, yeah, so there's a lot going on. And obviously, if you had like a midweek game, would anything alter in your preparations, or it kind of stays the same?
Not
Sometimes you have
too,
to
not
travel
too
away.
much. Yeah, not too much altercation. That's more so just to do with I guess, the volume of sessions that we're doing on a week-to-week basis. It sort of more becomes just recovery and match day -1 type
Yeah,
training.
yeah. So just lighter training.
Rather than conditioning type work during the week, or not so much um, physical or technical type work in a week like that. It's more just recovery and then preparation type, and you get your little bit of technique stuff in between that.
Yeah,
So that's gauged a lot of the coaches as well, though, the goalkeeper coach and the
yeah,
head coach. So, but yeah, the preparation in terms of the day before a game session and then everything leading up pretty much stays the same.
yeah. Sounds perfect. What is the most memorable and I guess pressured game you've played in, and why? What was it? If it just off the top of your head, I guess. Maybe one of the World Cup, I would imagine, is probably up there.
Yeah, there's something about the feel of a World Cup game that is just
Just
you
different.
don't quite get with another game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I could
you,
imagine.
it's close with a Premier League game, but I just think the fact that it's a world recognized event, the whole world stops, and the hysteria and hype created around a World Cup, and the fact that it only comes around every 4 years, just makes it that extra bit special to
To competing.
to play in a World Cup game than say a domestic game. Um, don't get me wrong, obviously I'm giving my all for everything, but I just think it's the amount that everything is amplified in a World Cup game. Pre-match, post-match, during the match, the fan support, everything's just that little bit more intense. There's that more coverage. It's more documented through media, social media, everything, and they're probably the ones that stand out the most. But for me, all the external pressure, it never outweighs um, the internal expectation of myself and what I expect in my performance. And I feel I know my standard of what my level is or what I set for myself, and
Mm.
I just focus on trying to hit those standards and being even better. And I feel like when I do that, then I tick off the other boxes from the external side.
Yeah, sure. Um, and is there any kind of techniques or methods that you utilize to overcome kind of these situations, or is it just kind of with experience that you just gain that, I guess, that composure and confidence, would you say?
I definitely think like experience helps, but I'm also of the fact and what I've tried to do when I was younger and also coming through and taking advantage of being around, my idols within the game and guys that have had great careers within the game, is that I've always tried to be attentive. And I think that, like, in order to learn, and I think that, if you can learn through someone else's experience rather than having to
Yeah,
go through and experience yourself, I think that's a skill or a quality within itself if you have the ability to do that. So,
yeah, because it
you
gets
know,
you that one step kind of closer and then makes it easier, I guess, as well.
yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, you still learn through making mistakes on your own and all that, but if you
Mm.
can take it to another level and learn through another person's mistake or something like that, then I
Yeah.
think that can serve you just as well, or even better than you having to commit a mistake yourself. But obviously there's a line that needs to be drawn that, yeah, we are human and we're going to make mistakes. And if you have that composure to be able to recognize that and realize that we are human and it's a part of life, and if you can view it in like a solution focused way of thinking, in the fact that you take it as a lesson that you can learn from, you analyze what you can do better so that hopefully the next time the same or similar situation eventuates, you've now learned whatever you've needed to learn in order to make sure that the next time it goes better for you. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Dwelling or stressing or overthinking or anything like that is not going to serve you well. And
No.
that's a little bit, it's touched on in that book that I mentioned earlier, that techniques to help with that sort of stuff as well. So
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
one thing is you saying that, and doing that, and it's another thing, practicing what you preach when you're going through a moment like that. But if the better that you are at able to train your brain in order to think that way and do that, I think the better that's going to serve you.
Yeah, that's really great. That's great insight. So what hardships have you had to endure, or I guess overcome as a footballer, whether that's dealing with a big injury or not being selected in the squad? Is there any that you can think of?
Yeah, well, when I was 14, 15, I wasn't getting selected in state teams.
Yeah.
I'm not tall as it is as a goalkeeper, and obviously there's this misconception that you need to be really big and tall to be good at the
Yeah.
game, and especially when you're young, I think, and physicality is a big part of players doing well because people grow and all that at different stages. And it was important that I had nice, influential mentors and people around me that were supporting me and feeding me with the right advice, through those hardships of, not making state teams and those types of things. And I sort of quickly learned that, if you want to achieve things, you got to work hard in order to get them, and nothing worth having comes easy type of thing. And
Simple as
that
that.
obviously
Yeah.
that fueled my drive to want to get even better and improve. And that definitely was the molding, I guess, of who I am as a person. Establishing those roots that you got to have a thick skin, and you got to overcome certain challenges and that. And if you're able to, I guess, have that, then it's going to serve you obviously well moving on down the future. That the quicker you get used to things not just being handed to you, then I think the better you're going to be able to do moving forward, because you're going to want to have that ultimate drive to be the best that you can be.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned you had mentors there. Who were those mentors? Was it your family or your coach, or?
Yeah, originally it's my family that instilled the morals and characteristics as people that we need, treat people with respect. And the family I grew up with, we didn't have the luxury of finances or anything like that. I grew up in Western Sydney, and my mum, she was a single mum from when I was 8. My sister was 10. She was working a couple of jobs and having to run around for my football and my school, and while she was, working and all these types of things. And a lot of my family, their members are also just working, their asses off in their, full-time jobs, all hours of the day, to provide for their families. So it quickly became apparent that, in order just to feed ourselves and provide for the families, that we've got to work hard. So I think that was indented in me from a young age as well. And the support that they've given me. And then, from goalkeeping aspects, John Crawley, he was my first ever goalkeeper coach. Have you ever met John yourself? Or?
Yeah, I've met John. I've been lucky enough to train under him quite a few times. Yeah. So yeah, he's a good bloke.
Yeah, no, he was my first ever goalkeeper coach, and as you know, he possesses a lot of quality as a coach, and has a real knack of producing young, quality goalkeepers, and helping them not only when they're young, but then blossoming into professional goalkeepers and helping them, reach their full potentials as well. And I'm an example of that. And he was another one that sort of took on a sort of stepfather role around that period when I was young as well, and feeding me with the right advice away from footballers. And, can't concentrate on how tall you can grow and all these types of things, but you can work on how powerful you are and your speed and your technique and these types of things that you can work on. And, just, directing your thinking in what it should be thinking in, and not dwelling on, things that are irrelevant at the end of the day. And
things that you can't control.
Exactly. As a young kid, that can be hard to grasp the difference sometimes, or to do. So he was one that helped me with that. And then when my professional career kicked off, Graham Arnold, obviously my first full-time professional manager, the faith that he showed in me and the guidance that he helped, in the experiences I had, helped me grow as a goalkeeper and as a person. being in that environment and being able to learn from someone who had such an illustrious career himself, both as a player and as a manager,
Yeah.
And the little things that he did in order to be successful, and which I tried to learn off. And then, from there, I'm always trying to learn from under every manager and coach I have. And even the goalkeeper coach I have here now at Brighton, Ben Roberts is his name. He used to play also in the Premier League. He played together with Mark Schwarzer when they were at Middlesbrough as well. And
Wow.
since gone on, and he's got quite a reputation as a Premier League goalkeeper coach as well. So he's been someone that's been around the English game a lot and helped me adapt to, I guess, the requirements of what's needed to be a successful goalkeeper here in England. And I guess the little differences, the little differences between, I guess, playing in England and perhaps anywhere else I had played. So, I've been fortunate to have a lot of people that have helped me to get to where I am today.
No, that's great. And has your style or technique, I suppose, changed over having different coaches over the time of your professional career?
Yeah, I think there's definitely always an adaptation. You always got to continue to evolve with the game because the game's always evolving. And one thing that I've found through my experiences and my approach is that having an open mind, not only in goalkeeping but in life, can be very beneficial also. And what works for one person, may work for another, may help another, may not. And I'm always trying to have that approach by a little bit like I was talking about, learning and being attentive of other people. I'm always seeing what they're doing, other goalkeepers within the league or past or present players, and listening to, what they talk about and how they did things, and maybe trying to implement things into my game that may help or may not. And I've definitely had to make changes over the years with the different leagues I've had to play in, with the different coaches I've had to play for. And at the end of the day, the more weapons that you have in your arsenal, the more adaptability you have as a player, the better chance it's going to have you, or the better chance it's going to give you to being selected by whichever manager is going to be at the helm for whichever team, and being out there on the pitch to be able to contribute for the team. So I've always just tried to work and develop on all aspects of my game and maintain an open mind in doing so.
That's excellent. It's great attitude to have, even still at the level that you're playing at. And so, who was your favorite goalkeeper growing up, or your idol, and why did you like them so much?
It was Iker Casillas, and I think the main reason was probably because characteristically his body shape and all that was similar to mine.
Fair enough. Yeah.
and that coupled with the fact that he was one of, if not the best goalkeeper of his era.
It's definitely up there.
Like I said, from my own experiences, being told you weren't big enough or these types of things, to have seen someone like him that, had all these disabilities that were holding him back from being a great goalkeeper, and him proving them wrong was refreshing for me to see, and gave me hope that, I can, if he can do it, then,
Why can't you?
I'll do the same. Exactly. So, but he was the one.
And apart from yourself, but who do you think is the best goalkeeper in the world right now?
Lucky you said that, because myself, no. For me, I mean, the margin is so slim on who takes the cake, and it can just depend on the performance of a game. But
if you want, you can give us a top three.
I really like Oblak.
He's a top one.
Some people will argue that, he doesn't play out from the back and all that, but I mean, his team doesn't require him to do that as often, and he's just doing what he asks of him at the end of the day. And if he goes and plays for a manager like Guardiola, then who knows, maybe he does have that quality, So he's definitely one. I just like his calmness. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and shows that all that's needed in those moments to perform whatever skill is needed to keep the ball out the back of the net. So I really fond of his level. Alisson, also. Liverpool. Just his all-round game.
Yeah. Say no more. Say no more.
He's got everything, and to be on the cusp of winning Premier League and be in a Champions League, Champions League winning goalkeeper, and goalkeeper of the national team of Brazil. What more needs to be said? He's obviously a quality goalkeeper. Man, there's so many off the top of my head that I'm probably.
No,
I mean, Edison is another one.
Yeah, another one.
I really
The
like
list goes on, huh?
Yeah, it goes on and on, but yeah. I mean,
No, it's perfect.
Ter Stegen's another one. Manuel Neuer. I mean, there's so many.
Even Leno's impressed me a lot as well this season for Arsenal.
Yeah. Another one that this year, even last year, he done well as well. But this year it's like he's taking his game to another level also.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say is the best thing about being a professional footballer, and what legacy are you trying to leave on Australian football? If any.
Best thing about being a professional footballer, I'm gonna say it's living my dream. Simple as that. What I grew up as a kid wanting to do, to have thought the possibility of living a life where football is your main purpose, and you can have a lifestyle with football as the main focal point. I think is every young kid's dream that aspires or that has a passion for football. And by far that's the best thing for me, being able to do that day in, day out, and the privileges that brings me, and how complementary it is to my life, is by far the best thing about it. The legacy in terms of wanting to leave, I don't know. I guess want to be known for the little kid from Western Sydney that had a dream, that went out there, and an example that dreams do come true. No one should ever think things aren't possible and that anything is out of their reach, because I'm an example of that, and an example that dreams do come true. So I hope that I hope the legacy I can leave is just to instill the youth of Australia and any other young population of the world, that they can go out there and chase their dreams as well, and if they give all that they can, and then it's quite possible that it can come true, and they can achieve big things in their lives as well.
It's perfect. If you've thought about this, I don't know if you have, but do you have any plans? Kind of, I guess, once you hang up the boots and gloves, what you might do after that? You might get into coaching or something like that, or you might just chill out.
I've been asked that question a few times, obviously over the years, and I just feel like I'm at a moment in my career where I'm doing everything that I can to invest myself in my football, and within that, I go to the lengths in which I do stuff to be able to play as well as I can for as long as I can. And for what I envisage for myself, I still see that as being quite a significant amount of time left in the game. I'm talking, 12, 12, 15.
I got heaps of years.
Years, compared to what other people, well, having seen what other goalkeepers have done and all these types of things. And, I haven't really given too much thought about life after that, to be honest.
Don't need to, really, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm not sure to what capacity at this stage. Sorry, so I'm just focused on giving everything to football at the minute, and with my income that I do have at the minute, I'm trying to be smart with it and make sure that I have plenty left over come the end of football, and hopefully enough that we'll be able to set myself up for a nice quality life, and I can go about making decisions from then. But there'll no doubt there'll come a point where I'll have to start giving a thought to that. But I don't think I've reached that point just yet.
No, it's still obviously very early days if you're asking that. Last two questions for you, Matt, and then I'll let you go. Where do you see Australian football in 10 years' time? And I guess including kind of like what the A-League is going to do as well. What's going to happen in the A-League? What are your thoughts?
Well, I haven't spoken with Arnie and known Arnie quite well. Obviously, there's a lot of things can happen between now and then, but I still believe that. I'm a living example that we can have players playing at the highest level, and I know Arnie's working very hard behind the scenes in order to be getting all the support needed for young players and the future generations to be coming through at when the ages from when they can walk all the way up until the A League, that players are getting all the necessities that are needed in order to reach their full potential and to be the best that they can be as young kids. Having all the resources is the word I was looking for. I know Arnie's working very hard to get all the resources required to enable to give young players, the best opportunity to fulfill their potentials. And I think in 10 years' time, knowing Arnie and how he has a knack of going about getting what he wants, and he has a way of doing that, if he's still going to be at the helm of all that, then I really see the future for us as a national team being quite bright, because I'm an example of that. When you're young and you get opportunities to play games at good levels, decent levels,
you get another chance elsewhere as well.
Exactly. You can blossom, you learn, you grow, and the more opportunities we can provide for more youth players coming through, then the domino effect of that is that we're going to be producing a higher level of footballers, and a higher number of people getting overseas to the bigger and better leagues, playing at the highest level and creating more competition for spots, and therefore raising the level of the standard in Australia, the standard of the national team, and improving our results come these big tournaments and all that. Obviously we vie to get into and compete and do well and want to win at the end of the day, World Cups, Asian Cups, all these types of things. So I'm really looking forward to the future, and real positive vibe around it, and can't wait to get stuck into it.
That's great. Last question for you, mate.
Yep.
Are you able to give any tips or pieces of advice for upcoming aspiring professional footballers? I guess kind of particularly during this tough time. You've kind of given us some of it before, but is there anything in particular that you can think of?
I think one thing that you can take for granted, and it's very easy to lose sight of the older you get, and I guess the more you get closer to the professional side of it, is the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
Life at the end of the day is about being happy, being healthy, and enjoying it and making it as fulfilling as possible. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then I dare say the drive's not going to be there for you to want to be the best that you want to be. Within that enjoyment, then I think
the quality would just come.
Yeah, or then within that enjoyment factor is the drive, and the drive.
Yeah.
The quicker that you can realize that you want to give absolutely everything of yourself, of your lifestyle, in order to become the best that you can be, I truly believe that that's the best way in order to reach your full potential. The sacrifices you're willing to make in order to, be the best that you can be. Once you immerse yourself in that journey of wanting to be the best footballer that you want to be, if that's your passion, then I think that's going to be the best way that you're going to be able to reach your full potential. And if that's not football and perhaps something else, another interest, then try to take that same approach for that. And I think having learned what I've learned in my lifestyle, I think that's probably the way to go about things, and how one can make life the most fulfilling, joyful, and I guess successful that he can be. But yeah, each to their own at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
that's just.
definitely. Yeah, happiness is definitely the key to success, I think, as well. Anyway, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, Chris. My pleasure. It's nice to get to know you a little bit, and I can really see that you have a real passion for it, man. And it's nice to hear that, the kids in the future, they're the vocal point or the forefront of, I guess, what you're doing, and you're not just trying to make a dollar or anything like that. You can really see that you really care and you have a real passion for it, man. And there needs to be more people around the game and around the world like that, man. So I really get a sense for that. So it's nice to see, and it's good to see someone like that in the game, man. And yeah, I wish you all the best with it.
Thank you so much. That honestly means a lot. I wish you all the best for the rest of the season.